I haven't been recording this. Thank you, Clarissa, for asking if it's recording. Okay, now I'd like to introduce Clarissa back. Our power hour. She is a wealth of information, and she, you know, Clarissa, I'm really hoping that you're going to share your contact information, because she is just a great resource. She's a great resource for real estate in general. So Clarissa, thank you so much for joining us today, and we can't wait to celebrate your win. And take it away.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I love how you call me a goddess. I accept that. I received that. Goddess of real estate. You know, it is true. I started investing many years ago. And even though it's been many, many years and I've done a lot of different things, I'm still a student. You know, I'm still a student. And you're going to see that when I show you this deal. This deal is a really, really simple deal. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to show it, because it made me really dig in and research what I did back then and how everything turned out. And, you know, I'm excited to share it with you. I have some slides. You okay if I do that? Okay, let's see if we can share my screen.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Let's do this one. That's me. All right. I trust that you guys can see that. And I'm going to move this.
Yes, we can see it.
All right. So this is my contact info. I label myself world traveler and passive income fanatic. I think somebody may have seen this before, because I used this in another presentation. And I absolutely love the ocean. I love traveling. And any extra money that I make goes towards the pot of feeling joy, going on adventures. I mean, and hanging out with people that I love, you know, so that's why I do this. So I want to show this. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what I did with this deal. It's very simple. I mean, I started investing back in 2005, and this was maybe in 2012. At the end of my really busy time between 2009, 2012, I was doing fix and flips and rehabs in Bakersfield. And I tell you, it was a lot of work. It was super, 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 super fun. And I gave no time to my family. So that was a really challenging time for my relationship. And so everything changed after that. But I want to show you one of these deals that happened back then. So I bought this rental at for $69,000. And this was in Bakersfield. And then I sold it 2 weeks ago for $245,000. Yes. I love your face, Deborah. So I made $176,000, right? Yay. That's my simple deal. Okay. Good night. Okay. Obviously, it's not that simple. So what do you think, Deborah? Is it simple enough? I wanted to show you a simple deal.
Thank you for coming.
Okay. So let's keep going. This is the house that we bought. Actually, during those times, I had a plan, and I went out and I, raised some capital. I joined together with a friend, and the plan was to bring the money to Bakersfield, buy these houses, and rehab them as quickly as possible, and then sell them, right? And then do it again. And what I realized now, looking back, is that that plan really involved a bunch of things, and I really wasn't sure what I was doing. I was learning on the go, you know. So here's my friend Chrissy. Chrissy and I met at an open house because in 2005, when I started getting interested in real estate, I started driving around everywhere, and I would go to all the open houses. And so I just met this realtor, and we liked each other. We started chatting. And then we started meeting for coffee and talking about investing. And this is how Cnc Group came together. So I found this photo. It was funny when you join together with your friends and you're having fun. We finally decided to take some photos and none of them were good. So this is the best one. So I want to show you how this Cnc Group started. So anyway, so we were attending the auctions in Bakersfield, and I want to show you this, these numbers because basically we didn't know what we were doing. I mean, we went to friends and family and we asked for, you know, to borrow some money. And I guess now we know it's called raising capital. And somebody recommended an attorney. So that attorney drafted some documents. They were very thick. And actually, I don't think we understood them, like maybe 20%, but we used them. We trusted that attorney. So with the money, the plan on this particular day, we had a budget of $65,000 to buy a house. And we were late to the auction. So there was something that we could have bought and we didn't buy because we were late. So we chased down the people who bought it. And at this point, we've been working in Bakersfield for like 3 years. So we knew the teams, we knew everybody who was showing up at the courthouse steps. And what we did is we bought the deal from them as a wholesale. So we gave them $4,000. We took the property and we went there with the key guy. We rekeyed the property. They were all vacant at this time. And so, you know, we took an estimate of about $8,000 from the contractor. And the total investment was, like it says here, it was actually $78,000 in the beginning, not 65 or 69, you know. So here comes the first not so simple. So there are things that we think we forget when we're in the beginning that we need to add all these numbers, right? So obviously we always had plan B. And so the rents at the time were $1,100 and we thought that was okay for the 1% rule. So you guys just write your questions and in the end, ask me again if you want to know more about the 1% rule or anything else. So here's what happened. We ended up in plan B, right? And at the time we knew that this particular house was in a great neighborhood. I mean, much better than where we had been investing before. And we had really good comps. So the comps were coming in at 100, 105, 110. So we decided, you know, if we have to hold this property, we're going to be okay with it. So this is a sample of, you know, what needed to be done at the house. Because these were foreclosures, most of the houses that we were buying were vacant. So it was really easy to guesstimate the work that was going to be done, but it was actually very risky. We were working on the east side of Bakersfield, mostly in the Latino community, because my entire team was, you know, we were just a bunch of Spanish-speaking people. So anyways, fast forward, this is what happened. I ended up holding the property. And this was my rent for all these years. So this is the first piece of the puzzle that is great about owning rentals, right? This is where you see the difference between flipping a house and owning a rental for a long time. So I held on to this house because I had a really great tenant. And the first tenant stayed for like the first 6 years. And then I had 2 different tenants. And what happened was that I bought this at the very end of that cycle where, you know, in 2009, those houses were selling for like 40 grand, like the budget was 40,000. And towards the end of the cycle, when I bought this one, the budget was 65. So things were getting more expensive. And at that time, the hedge funds started to come into the trustee sales and then they would buy for more. So they were pushing up the prices. So we kind of got cycled out of that fun, you know, investing strategy. And what happened was that within the next year or year and a half, my team dissolved and the people started returning to LA and then they started doing flips here in LA. And then I became a hard money lender or a private lender, basically. That's what happened. So here you can see that in the end, you know, I had borrowed $78,000 and then I had created this income for all these years and I had very little expenses. I mean, it was really maybe less than 30%, but I just, you know, calculated it's about $100,000 worth of passive income, right? So anyways, what happened was that now we have this super hot market right now. And I decided, you know what, with the law changing in California and having a lot of family in Florida, and now my best friend lives in Austin, and so I decided, and then Jan is moving to Austin, so part of my mentors are moving there too. So I decided I'm gonna move my rentals and I'm gonna start over in those two places. So this property actually was the last rental that I held on to in Bakersfield. And so a win for me is that I'm closing the chapter of owning rentals in Bakersfield, which for me was not a great experience. So when you look at the numbers, it was great. I mean, numbers wise, things did well. I had a good manager. We bought at the right time. We were lucky, and all that. But I have to tell you, managing properties is not my jam. I don't want to be involved in it. So my new strategy is that as I start to look into these new markets, I am partnering up with the people who love property management, people who love working directly with the tenants, and who can do a really good job, So that's what I'm going to be doing next. So anyways, I decided to put the property on the market. I've been thinking about it for like a year. So I'm going to show you some numbers from last year. And bye, baby. And so I listed the property for 250, and within a couple of days, I had an offer at 245. And I decided to go for it. I mean, what more do I want? It was just an incredible ride of the market. But I wanted to show you something. This is the closing statement. And at the bottom of the closing statement, I don't know if you can see, but originally it was 245,000, and you see all the expenses on the left side. My expenses were 29,000. And so I ended up with, my actual proceeds were 215, right? Well, that's not all, right? That's not all. So here's my simple deal again. This is simple deal 2.0. So I bought it for 78,000, which was, the purchase price, the agent fee, and some money to rehab the property. And then I sold it for 245, and I had that initial ideal profit of 167. And then I had some rents, right? About 100,000 worth of rental income, over these 9 years, right? So I'm thinking, yay! I made $269,000. Woo-hoo! Go, Clarissa! Yay! Remember these? Okay, so we sometimes forget about this side. Check this out. I had closing costs. I had to recapture my depreciation, and I had taxes, right? So, okay, so let's not forget about those. Taxes. Let me go backwards. So in here, there's a line that is like $8,000. The last line, California State Withholding to Franchise Tax Board, is $8,000. Okay, so I didn't receive that money; just got withheld, and I because I didn't do a lot of rentals. My focus is really lending money and buying notes. I thought, well, it's $8,000. I made all this extra. I'm not gonna worry about that. I'm not gonna try to 1031 exchange it. I don't have the time right now to go looking for properties when I know the market is crazy. So I'm gonna cash out, and I know that the best deal is gonna come soon, and I'm just gonna go into another deal with these proceeds, right? I'm not gonna worry about 1031 exchange because it's $8,000. Okay, this is what I thought. And then I had my CPA do a sample of what would happen when I sell the property. And so, okay, so here goes my vulnerable share. And I'm hoping that this is the piece where we all learn together, and I'm sure I'll have a conversation with Anita about it, because this is something that I need to understand more in depth. So this is what, I'm so nervous to show this. This is what they showed me. So if I sold, this is a scenario from where if I sold the property for 200,000 last year, when the property had already started going up in value. So between the federal taxes and the state tax, and even after the depreciation recapture. If I had the proceeds of $200,000 on a sale, minus the closing costs, minus the taxes were calculated at $43,000, right? So this is definitely a topic that I don't quite yet understand, obviously. And this is where I have to balance, like, what's more important to me, that I preserve this money right now, that I reinvest, that I exchange it so that I, pay those taxes in the future, that I spend the time learning right now because the market is so hot that I need to make this decision right now and I have to buy a property within 90 days or something. Like, what is more important to me? So I came to the conclusion that, this is a learning opportunity and that's fine. I have to leave this on the table. So it's probably not going to happen again, right? But for now, it's okay. So that's my little learning. Anyway, so the pieces of this puzzle happened because I was able to start prospecting for money. So over the last 15, 16 years, I've been working with just a handful of money partners. And the first one was my mom. So I always like to honor her. My mother is an entrepreneur, and as well as my father, they've always owned businesses. And one of the things that she does is that she always finds the time to enjoy life and to bring joy to herself and those around her, and to build community. So I share those values with her, and because of her investment in my initial CNC group, is that I was able to do these flips. So thank you, Mom. And then obviously I had a team of people. So my role doing those flips was I was interested. I wanted to learn. And at that time, I didn't know anything about how to buy at the courthouse steps. I didn't have access to pull in the information so that I could prepare for the meetings. Like, we had someone who pulled all that information. And in the morning, I would receive a list of what was going to be sold that day. And then I would go at 5, 6 in the morning to Bakersfield and start driving around the houses. And I would pick the neighborhoods that felt comfortable to me. And I would say, okay, I would buy that one, and I would mark them on the sheet. And then we had someone go to the sale, and that person knew that I would buy that house at that price, And then we had a team of contractors that actually, would do the rehab. And then we had a team in the office who did all the administration. And then I had the realtors who would sell the properties, So there were all these people involved in that whole transaction. And all I did was I brought money. So to me, it seemed really simple. So even to this day, that is my talent. I know how to find money for deals. And when the deals are good, the money comes. It's like really super easy. So anyways, I guess I'm just wanted to show that we each have our talents. And the sooner you discover which one is your talent, the more you can build on it. And then that you can be successful at doing just what you're good at. So I encourage you guys to do that. And then, of course, there's always mentors. And I took this picture from last year, 2 years ago, Ignite, from your website, Deb. And
a couple years ago.
It's always been so encouraging to work with women. I don't know, our group is so different than going to the men's real estate group. And, I found a lot of support. I have worked with a few of these women, and they have been an important piece of the journey for me. So, I'm glad that we're here to support each other. So what it really comes down to, for me, investing in real estate and building a legacy, creating that passive income so that I can, share it and, build my own dreams. It really comes down to the people and the people that you work with. And so, when you start looking at how to invest or what do you want to get out of it, yeah, the numbers obviously are important, but, just understand that it's a team sport, I would say. So here are my lessons. I know what my top values are. And now every time I do something, whether it's work related or it's something with the family or something with the schools, with my kids, I have to be able to be aligned with my top values. You know, if it's not going to be fun, and if it's not going to have connection with people or the family, and if I can't bring my talent of being resourceful, and if it's not going to allow me to just, you know, feel that freedom that I can do it the way that I know I can do it well, I'm not going to do it. So everything I do now gets filtered through my values. Then I also learned that, of course, flipping houses is super fun and you can make a lot of money. Trust me, we made a lot of money, but the wealth is created in the long term. So, you know, make sure you have a balanced plan so that you can make the chunks so that then you can invest those chunks as well to give you passive income for the long run. And then, like I said before, just focus on your talents and delegate. This is something that I have struggled with for many years, but I'm learning to do it. I'm learning to give away the pieces that don't pertain to me. And of course, working with friends and family and just sharing not only in the wealth, but the experience, you know, the experience. Some people discover that this is what they want to do and they love it. And then you can work together and, you know, then you have synergy. So working with people, I just love it. So those are the things that, you know, I keep in mind when I go into deals. And I guess that's it. You know, I tell my friends and I tell everybody that I know that if you're going to do something, just, it may seem complicated. It may seem like it has a lot of challenges, but if you allow it, it can be easy. Just let it be easy. And that's my message for you guys. And I would love to answer any questions because I know I just went through.
Yeah.
But tell me what pieces of this are interesting.
We have some questions, Clarissa. So everybody take down Clarissa's email and phone number if you want to get in touch with her. And then Clarissa, maybe you could stop sharing your screen so you and I've written down questions that have been asked so that we can talk.
Yeah, I was not looking at the chat or anything.
Yeah.
I'm not a professional presenter, so.
First of all, I just want to say thanks for your vulnerability. You know, that's beautiful. And I really appreciate that you shared with us. Some of the comments on the chat were tough call, but brave and honest. Thank you so much. Wonderful. So honest and so real. Thank you for sharing. It's very inspiring. Great presentation. We did have some other questions in the chat though. There was a question about what the 1% rule is. So if you could speak to that, that would be great. Okay.
You know, I have not reviewed exactly what the 1% rule means. Like if you could probably look it up online. The way I look at it is I compare the monthly income to the price of the property. So if the price is 100,000 and the monthly income is 1,000, to me, that's 1%. So that is one indicator that makes me look further. I'm not going to make a decision over that one rule, but if I'm buying a property for $65,000 and I know that I can rent it for $1,100, I'm sure, I mean, that goes beyond the 1% rule. And in the beginning, when I was looking at all these properties, I had a spreadsheet of how I would calculate whether I would go into that deal or not. And I actually, because I didn't know what I was doing, I would use the 1.25 rule instead. So it would make things tighter, you know. And it's interesting, you know, when you think about it, I always avoided buying properties for rent that would be rentals in Los Angeles because they could never meet that rule. But that's because I came from from the cash buyer perspective, right? And I was borrowing money to bring the cash to buy at the lowest price at the foreclosure sales, right? But if you're going to buy with a loan, if you're going to be leveraged, then the 1% rule becomes a lot more flexible. So, I mean, nowadays I still own, I don't know if I didn't go into my journey, but I've bought rentals, I have used leverage, I have owned multifamily, I've bought a few notes, I'm in syndication. So I have experience in a lot of different things. And 2 years ago, I did a flip in LA and I discovered that I could actually profitably own a rental in LA. So even though the 1% rule didn't quite work, so that was a discovery for me. And so at this point in my investing journey, I am actually in I'm gonna say like rebirth. Now I know what I'm willing to put my time towards. Now I know what people I need in my team, and I'm in a much better position now. My portfolio is pretty balanced, and I know exactly what I want to do, which is start over with the rentals. Like I sold, I own, I think, I don't know, 3 dozen rentals, I think, over the last 15 years. And I've sold them all but 2, the one that sold last year and the one that I still own here in LA. So now I want to rebuild that. I am 48 years old. I'm looking at the next 30 years. And when I'm going to use leverage because I can qualify and I'm going to be buying rentals again. When I get to the end of that or towards closer to the end of that, I can sell those properties in seller financing and then I'll have my cash flow continuing in, right? So I have a completely different vision, and I'm sure your vision will change as you gain more experience with the market and what you're doing, and as you discover what works for you.
Yeah.
So that was a long explanation of the 1% rule.
That's okay. You know what? You use some terms, and I just want to make sure that everybody understands what the terms mean. You said, you talked about hard money and private lending. And, and how you're involved with that. So could you just define that so that people understand what that is?
Sure. I mean, hard money, there are companies out there that, that you can borrow the capital to do projects from. And they will not necessarily vet you, but they will vet your projects. And if your projects are profitable, in their opinion, then they will lend the money as long as you have, some experience, I think. So your rates that they'll offer you depend on your experience, I think. A private lender is like your mom, your uncle, your friend. You can make a private agreement on how you're gonna lend each other the money. And my recommendation is that you always secure the money with the property and that you show the person that is lending you the money, you make sure they get a little bit educated. Don't just take blind money because you're going to be the steward of that, and it can be risky. You can lose the money. So just make sure that that you have everything in writing, and it could be anything. I mean, you could borrow, you could borrow 100,000 and secure it against your artwork. You can secure it against the property. You can secure it against your car, but just make sure to give the other person some kind of security. And when you do your deals, your investor is number one. Number one, never let down your investor. Honestly, in my opinion, like if it's going to be a really hard hit for you, you still need to pay your investor somehow. Even if you refinance them and you tell them you're going to pay them later, but always keep your investors, I guess happy is the word. So that's my recommendation, because then they're going to always lend to you. That's an unlimited source of capital. Like I said, I only work with 4 people. Right. And I always, whenever I want to do a deal, I can find the money. So that's my recommendation. So,
Clarissa started talking about 1031 exchanges. And for those of you that don't know what a 1031 exchange is, it's an opportunity to reinvest any kind of capital gains in another like and kind investment. And many times you have to take, so if you have something that's worth 250,000 and say you have debt on it, you have a loan on it for 100,000. And so you're going to be making capital gains on it. And over time, like Clarissa just gave an example of, you can reinvest that capital gains as long as it's the same portion of debt and capital gain into another. And you don't have to pay the taxes right away. Like Clarissa's actually going to have to pay the taxes on this. I want to just point something out that Clarissa did, and that is she got all the information that she needed prior to making the decision. So kudos to you, Clarissa. I know a lot of people that, get to closing and they're just now looking at their tax situation. right? They get to closing and they're just like, what the heck happened to all my money? Right. So kudos to you, because I learned the other way. I got to closing and I was like, so, it's great to be able to foresee if you're thinking about making a real estate move, like, turn to the professionals that are counseling you and get their opinion, right? That's what they're there for. Yeah, so that's great. I loved your story about property management. And I just have to tell you that I'm similar to you, girl. Like, property management is, you said it's not my jam, not my jam either. And I have to tell you though, I met a man and he was actually had a bunch of rentals in Bakersfield, and he loved property managing, and he rented a lot of low income housing. He rented to vets, he rented to low income housing Section 8s and things like that. He went around every month and would collect rent personally because he liked to sit and talk to everybody. Yay. Property management was his jam, right? He knew his magic, right?
And that's the thing, Deborah, that I had so many problems with tenants, and I didn't live in the area, and I was relying on the property managers. I had all these rentals in North Carolina where I have family, or I used to have family there. Now they're not there anymore, but it was so hard to try to solve problems from here, and managing a bad property manager can be very frustrating. So I discovered first of all, Clarissa, you need to learn to vet the property managers. And I went through like four different ones during the time that I was in that market. And finally I got someone who actually moved into my multifamily building, and she was there every day. And the problems, she started dealing with the problems every day. And then eventually, we got the entire building great. And then I sold it. It was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I never want to do this anymore. And I shied away from it for a long time. And it's interesting right now to have to take the ride of the market from here to here with this particular example. Now I have perspective, right? Like, why didn't I use my talents to find the right people who love that job? Because I assume everybody hated property management, because I did, So it's about finding the right people who love doing the thing that you need and delegating that job. And imagine if today I had, more than 24 rentals from back then, because I bought everything back then. So I am definitely, I'm humbled by having had this experience, but now I know that I can confidently build it again. So that is the journey that I'm on. Like right now, I'm doing really well with my notes and the income that I'm receiving. I mean, I make a really good income just from my investments, but now I know what I can really do. Like now I'm shooting for the 10, 15 million portfolio. You know what I mean? So anyways.
Yeah. We've got some questions in the chat. Nicole's asking, if you're getting a loan, should you go for more than 1%? Is that a different number? It really, I'm just going to take this really easily. It really depends on your numbers, like where you're buying and how the numbers work. Like Clarissa was playing out her numbers with her accountant before making a decision. You've really got to know how to play out your numbers. Take all your income, take all your expenses, estimate vacancy, estimate maintenance costs. And then, then when you get to the bottom, that's called your NOI, your net operating income, then you take out debt if you end up taking debt if you're not buying all cash. We had another question.
Let me add to that. Nicole, it really also depends on what you want out of that deal. So for example, if what you need right now is cash flow right now, then you need to look at the numbers that give you the cash flow, right? Like you got to find the property that when you do the numbers, you get that cash flow. And if you are looking for a place to park your money because you know that in 5 years you're going to need it for something else, you're retiring or something, like there are different reasons, then maybe cash flow right now is not so important. And so, for example, the house that we flipped and held on to here in LA, when, our cash flow is like barely, anything. I think we make $500, maybe 200 because I own it with a partner, right? But that house, we bought it for 300,000. We rehabbed it really quickly, and then we brought the value up to 500 within a year. And that's because we knew how to buy. We found the opportunity, you know. And so when we went ahead and we cashed out, refinance, we took out most of the money, but both my partner and I needed to leave behind 20,000 each. So there's like $40,000 invested in that property, and we have cash flow. So I think it's like $500 a month, which is not bad, right? But our ultimate goal is to cash out the entire money, right? And then reinvest it, because I borrowed that money. So I borrowed the money to do the deal. We did the deal. We cashed out refi. I want to pay back all the principal to my investor, right? So what I did is I went into my pocket, paid my investor so that I could leave in the deal the 40 grand or the 20 and the 20, right? So why did I do that? I did that because I wanted to own a rental in Los Angeles, to have the experience of owning this rental, because I could see that the market will help me with appreciation later on. So I have an awesome tenant in that property. And that is the only reason why I did the deal, because I put the tenant in the deal before I cashed out refi the house. And that tenant is a family member that I want to take care of, right? So it really depends what, you know, if you want cash flow or not, and how much you need when you do your numbers. So in that situation, you know, maybe the 1% rule doesn't apply, but it really is depending on the situation. I hope that makes sense.
That makes sense. You know, we have a couple really quick comments in the chat. One of them I don't quite understand. Gwen, you said, what do you think about micro renting? I've never heard that term before, Clarissa. Have you?
No.
Gwen, if you want to take yourself off mute. I've heard of house hacking, which I think is what you might be referring to.
I attended a session last night on micro renting. It's where you rent out properties for Airbnb, their room, all of those vacation rental places. You rent people's properties for them.
Yeah. So if you're talking about like you master lease something, and then you make it into a nightly rental, in my experience, I've never heard of it called micro renting. That's short-term rental arbitrage, which is where you don't own the property, but you're master leasing the property, and then you're renting the property out again. And it's a great way to get started in this business with not a lot of money in, and that's one of our speakers that's going to be at Ignite. Brenda,
can I make a comment, Deborah? Actually, you know what's funny, when she said micro renting, I was thinking she was talking about something else.
You're not. Can I see your face, baby? Hi,
yeah.
Sorry. Say it again.
I'm here. Hi. So actually, it's kind of funny when she said the micro renting. I have a friend in Texas that there's this new kind of like resource. It's called Pad Split. And it's still, you own the building, but you try to get, you know, maybe like a 6-bedroom. And it's sort of like that transitional housing that the girl talked about before. But it's not necessarily to transitional people in that sense. But you rent each room, so you're getting paid more per room, and they help you with putting the people in and the marketing and all of that too, and you give them 20%. So
right, there are places that'll do that, and then, you know, that is a different model to me. That is also like kind of house hacking. That's what house hacking is. You know,
I thought house hacking was you move in and you live there, remodel it, and then sell it later.
Oh no, it's renting out portions of where it is you're living. Like one of the,
I think you just put locks on doors so people have.
Yeah.
Right.
You do have the locks on the doors. Yeah, that's what they said.
Yeah, it's kind of community living. It's interesting concept, you know, but one of the speakers at Ignite is basically making her mortgage, taxes, insurance, plus some where her and her husband are living. It's a very interesting concept, right? So she had me intrigued when we were talking. Anyway, I just wanted to mention one more thing. I was given a message by Brenda. She said, I don't have time to run numbers by a CPA. She's missed so many properties waiting for a contractor to come back and look at her property. So I just wanted to clarify, Brenda, when I say know your numbers, it's you that's going to have to be responsible for knowing your numbers. So there are a lot of different ways to estimate rehab costs. And as you learn and grow in the business, as an old rehabber, as a current rehabber, I can estimate things now out myself. But there are also guidelines that you can take to estimate costs depending on the condition of the house and what you see, so that you can actually get your bids in faster. Even with like Clarissa working at the courthouse steps, you have to learn to speed up that process so that you can get in on the deals, right? Okay, so we're coming close to time now, and I'm going to be really respectful of everybody's time. I wanted to share with you that if you want to become a member at WREN, you just go to joinren.com and you can find out about all of our benefits. We have 3 meetings a month. One of the meetings is dedicated to just members. You get to attend the other 2 meetings. One of the meetings is the Power Hour, just like this, and the other meeting is our featured speaker meeting, and those are all free. There's discounts on our other events, as well as community calls. A couple of the things that we've added is we have, once you join, you get part of our Work It Girl networking training, because networking is not just exchanging your name and your phone number. It's building relationships. I know Clarissa, Nika, a lot of the women on these calls have built relationships, right? And that's where networking really adds to your bottom line profitability. The other thing that we've added is we have a concierge to access to help you with a specific plan of action so that you'll be successful. If you're interested in a certain area, we help point you in the direction of that. We also have started some online education, and you get discounts to all those things, like our creative financing toolbox, our multiplier. Once again, I want to just mention Ignite. Go to igniteandinnovate.com. If you aren't a member and you're looking at becoming a member, there is a membership and Ignite package at that website. So you might just want to check it out and decide what's good for you. And then let's talk about money and how to fund deals in real estate with our Queen of Capital, Jen Maldonado. For those of you who are new on this call, Jen has been with WREN for ever since it was born, pretty much. And she is just an amazing person to talk to about how to fund and structure deals. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. We have our own YouTube channel. Okay, did I make it? Yes, it's 1 minute after 10. So thank you guys so much for coming. You guys, let's give Clarissa some love in the chat. Clarissa, thanks again for teaching us, right, how a simple deal, right, has a lot of different facets to it, and how equity happens over time. It's amazing how equity happens. So thank you so much, Clarissa. We love you. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful Saturday. Thank you. Hope to see you online again. Thank you, Brenda. I love all your private messages. Cool. Thank you, guys.